So welcome to the Metal House. This is a fantastic space. In this space right in front of me is where Nicolas Metal, he and his wife entertain guests. This space in front of this beautiful window here was the dance floor, and back in the back of the living room would be all the seats, and the stereo controls are back there. And it was a very social atmosphere, as told by the daughter, Camilla. She said that they would often get sent to bed, which is at the back of the house, and could hear the music playing from the front of the house where her parents were entertaining their friends. And so you can just see this beautiful floor, polished concrete, 3, 4, 5 couples standing up and dancing to this fantastic music that would be blaring from Nicolas Metal's stereo system. My name is Tim, and I've lived in the Arthur Erickson Metal House for a number of years with my wife Bernadette, owned by her late parents. And in the course of living here, I've had the privilege of being stimulated by the fantastic design of Arthur Erickson in terms of landscaping and lightscaping, and be able to just enjoy it as part of my everyday life. And it's funny how we got here, because it was probably about 2 years ago that our next door neighbor, Susan Watt, was having coffee with some friends down the street at a bakery near this house. And one of those friends happens to be a famous architect by the name of James Chen. And James Chen, who had worked with Arthur Erickson when James was young and starting his architectural career, James Chen was just surprised that there was an Erickson house in this neighborhood that he lived in, and he wasn't aware of it. And so we arranged for James Chen to come and visit the house, and he came, and he looked around, and he looked at the stone, the gravel work of the main living room where I'm standing here. He looked at the floating staircase and the fireplace, and he noted that these were all quintessential hallmarks of Erickson's design, but he couldn't be absolutely sure that it was an Arthur Erickson house. And it wasn't until a couple of probably months later, when Jeffrey was doing some investigations at the University of Calgary and the Architectural Archives of Canada, that he came across a sales receipt that documented that Arthur Erickson had designed this house and sold it to Nicolas Metal. And on the strength of that sales receipt, we could finally say that this was an Arthur Erickson house. So my first experience with this house was this room, completely bare, just concrete, nothing, no carpet, no piano here, nothing. And I remember I was helping my girlfriend's parents, girlfriend at the time, move in from a house about 6 blocks away. And I remember walking into this room carrying all the boxes that had to come into this house, and I thought, wow, you know, who had this house built the way that it is? And of course, now we know that the original owner was a gentleman named Nicolas Metal, and he had a family of 4, 2 children, himself and his wife. And Nicolas Metal, it turns out, was a bit of an audiophile. He loved music, he loved classical music, he loved loud music, like clear and loud music. And so he had approached Arthur Erickson to build a house for him around the concept of having a sound room, a room in which he could sit and just enjoy music. So the question around the sound acoustic qualities of this house has always been top of mind in my mind. Did the house get built around the sound characteristics, or did the house get built and then the sound characteristics were brought in for better refinement. And it turns out it was the latter, because in the course of cleaning this house out to prepare it for sale, we came across a number of documents that were archived in closets, cobweb-filled closets throughout the house. One was the architectural drawings from the Arthur Erickson architects, and the other had to do with letters that Nicolas Metal had written or received. And one of those letters was a letter from James B. Lansing, the maker of stereo equipment, JB Lansing, or JBL as it's now called, in which James Lansing explained to Nicolas Metal that since the house already exists, it is difficult to completely match the acoustic requirements that he might have wanted to his specifications. Anyway, over by the big window there was this cabinet with the speakers contained in it, and over on the far corner of the room is the control center where the amplifier, the turntable, the vinyl albums were all stored. And meanwhile, this room was built around all the wiring that it took to put this room together. So there are wires built into the concrete that come out over by the window to be connected to the speakers, and they all run back to the main control panel on the other side. Because the rumor was that Nicolas Metal had a very fancy sound system, possibly a quadraphonic sound system, which at the time quadraphonic sound was de rigueur, the ultimate state of the art for sound. This is actually a very personal spot here, because when my late in-laws purchased the house, they would have Christmas parties, and Christmas parties consisted of family coming into Vancouver from as far away as London, England, from Singapore, some from Perth, Australia, and southern United States. And in this corner where I'm standing right here would be the Christmas tree, because this is the spot in which you could stand a 7, 8, 9, or 10-foot Christmas tree and fill the space. And then all the guests would dine upstairs, and we'd all descend to the downstairs to open the presents. So this is a very personal spot here in this house for our family. Yeah, let me take you upstairs. And through this door we have the master bedroom of the original Erickson house for Nicolas Metal. The Metals would have gotten up every day to sunlight streaming in from the east window, to going to bed and having the setting sun stream in from the west window. And meanwhile, there'd be this fantastic view out the main window looking north to the mountains and to the city of Vancouver. I had the privilege of living here for 5 years after my wife and I moved back from Ottawa so that I could do my postgraduate degree. And our son was born while we were living in this house. So very often in this room we'd have a little baby, a toddler eventually crawling around. And there was a desk over in the corner where I had my little Mac Classic, the original Macintosh computer, and I wrote my master's thesis on that little computer. But the memories that stream through my mind are the sunny days, like I'm looking out here and finding the sun bouncing off of all the greenery and the city below and the mountains over to the north. Staring out at that and finding stimulation, just a mental stimulation designed by Arthur Erickson. So the light streams in, hits me, and I feel energized, ready to take on the world. Another aspect of this house that always caught my eye are these chains that are descending from each of the roofs to the next roof below. They are meant to tap the drain water that's coming down on the countless days in Vancouver when it's raining. And standing here looking out the window, you can imagine that when the house was built, the trees that are opposite us were much smaller, and there were no two-story houses at all, and you have this vast uninterrupted view of the entire Vancouver skyline and the mountains, which now you can get, but you have to go up to the addition to the house, to the new master bedroom, to find that view. So this is the one space in the original house that was renovated after my late in-laws moved in, and that is the kitchen area. It's a open kitchen present day, but originally the house was designed such that this space was both a kitchen, and then next to it was a bathroom, and then this space in front of the kitchen was the rumpus room, where the family would have their family piano, and Nicolas Metal was known to be a reading addict, and so he had tons of magazines, and so the back wall would be shelves full of magazines lying on top of magazines, lying on top of more magazines. The use of skylights in this house is quite sparse, and that's partly because of the need to maintain the acoustic integrity of the front sound room. By putting in a skylight in the sloping roof in the front sound room, the whole acoustic nature of that room would change. And so one can look around the space, and we've been asked on occasion by people who visited the house why there's so few areas where you can see the full expanse of the Vancouver skyline. And we can explain that Erickson was trying to provide glimpses while at the same time enable you to see the Vancouver skyline. So you can see the Vancouver skyline from the porch over to the east here, but the integrity of the sound room is maintained so that there is no skylight in the sound room itself. In and out of the house unimpeded, at any angle that they want to, stand anywhere they want to, and engage in conversations, and just enjoying the landscape and the space that Arthur Erickson created. Many different visitors visit this house over the last couple of years as we've gotten to know people in the architectural communities as well as in the arts communities. Being a musician myself, my wife and I are both musicians, as well as we are dancers. We've had many performance artists come and visit this space, and the one very telltale comment that was made about this house was made by this performance and canvas artist who was visiting. He was standing down in the main sound room there, and he was just marveling at all the different angles where he could see outside and see different sceneries looking outside. And he said, you know, the one thing about this house that he has not seen in any other house to date is that he's constantly stimulated by the light and the energy, no matter where he looks in the house. And that is a statement to commend the Arthur Erickson concept that underlies this metal house. So this tree is kind of the center point of this whole concept of Arthur Erickson's. This tree sits right in the middle of the property, and the house is built around it. The whole concept is that there should be an energy that flows from the tree to connect to the scenery that's the mountains to the north, and before the addition was built would connect to the rest of the alleyway that's to the back of the house. When Nick Milkovich designed the addition, he took great pains to try to maintain the flow of energy in the space. And so what you can see is that he incorporated sliding glass doors so that from the addition, the study of the addition, one could open the doors and walk out into the space of the courtyard, similar to the original sliding door that is attached to that gives access to the now kitchen of the space. Arthur Erickson's concept was that you could literally walk in from your car in the back alley and enter the house in any number of different ways to access the space, and that there be a transparent, continuous connection between the inside and the outside. So that gave rise to these big walls here, which at first look like very, very tall fences, but they are in fact the conceptual wall of the house, so that this is the east wall, and on the other side of the house is the west wall, and this is the outside courtyard that is contained within these two walls, and therefore is a continuous space with the interior of the house. This wisteria, which has been modestly cut back to where it sits today, was originally it originally extended from the back of the property along the fence, along the top of the wall, to above where the camera is right now, to fill this entire balcony with greenery. So this wisteria was a much more prominent, had a much more prominent presence in the original design. And that's what Erickson really loved. He loved to create landscapes in which people could live. So in a way you have to, I've learned by living here that you had to reverse your thinking. This is not necessarily a house with an outdoor, it's the outdoors with a house. And a house that enables the light and the energy to flow through unimpeded, giving you a sense of stimulation no matter which angle you turn to look in this space.